Well, hello there, my fellow rushers. How are you doing today? King Rex here, and today I have a gift for you all. Now, this video was initially supposed to come out on Sunday, but due to me being quite sick during the weekend, I couldn't record at the time. But now I have recovered, and it is about time to show you what I've been cooking up over the past couple weeks. I present to you Kingdom Rush Origins Legendary Mode. This is a small Kingdom Rush Origins mod which has a few goals in mind. One of them is to make the game more challenging. The second one is to rebalance the meta and to make all towers and heroes viable. And the third one is to reduce the overwhelming amount of true damage. More on that later. First of all, what changes does this mod provide? It tampers with several things, those being difficulty scaling, enemies, towers, heroes, and the star upgrade system. In this video, I'll explain some of the things that are not explicitly told to you in the mod. Starting off with the difficulty changes. On casual mode, enemies have 10% less health than normal. Plain and simple, right? But the moment you switch up to veteran is when things take a turn for the worst. There, enemies have 50% more HP, 15% more resistances, 25% more damage, 12.5% bonus attack speed, 10% increased movement speed, their ability cooldowns have been reduced by 25%, and a few enemies take away an extra life or two. Now that may seem a little ridiculous, but it is perfectly beatable from a fresh save file. However, if you thought this was bad, then oh boy, you won't like what Impossible Mode has to offer. Or, as it is now called, Legendary Mode, which is a reference to Terraria's Legendary Mode. When you switch to Legendary Mode, here, enemies have twice as much HP, 30% higher resistance, 50% more damage, 25% faster attack speed, 20% increased movement speed. Their ability cooldowns have been reduced by half, and most enemies take away twice as many lives when compared to normal mode. With the exception of a few though. And yeah, I know, it's about as tedious as it sounds. But just like veteran mode, it is perfectly beatable. Well, maybe besides a few specific heroic and iron stages, but that was a small price to pay in order to provide a better and more challenging campaign stages. Now let's move on to the enemies. All of their base stats can be seen in the encyclopedia after downloading the mod, so I'm not going to list their stats here, otherwise the video will be quite long. I will only mention a few enemies from each area, which I thought you should know about a little bit more in detail. As of this moment, when I'm recording this, a changelog has not yet been made. It is going to be done eventually though, I promise. Anyway, let's get to the explanation. Starting off with the first area. No blinders deal magic damage with their ranged attacks and can silence blossoms every 5, 3.5 and then 2.5 seconds based on the difficulty. Ettins have 50 health regeneration per second and no longer stun themselves. No Gnollers gain triple damage when in hordes. Twilight Harasser's Arrow Storm has a cooldown of 12, 8 and then 6 seconds, and it shoots extra set of arrows compared to the vanilla version. Catapults are no longer able to be killed and deal explosive damage as opposed to physical. Hahaina has quite a few changes. His roar now affects the whole map, boosting the enemy's damage by 200% and their health by 100%, making the accompanying wave that comes with him more threatening. And last but certainly not the least, his global attack has a cooldown of 8, 6 and then 4 seconds. On top of that, it deals a lot of damage. It is physical damage though, so heavily armored units can survive it, so make sure you got some of those when facing this boss fight. Moving on to the second area. All shroom and spider based enemies are now completely immune to poison damage, which should have been the case to begin with, but it wasn't in the vanilla version. Munch shrooms and fungal breeders can spawn 2, 3 and then 4 enemies upon death. Fungal breeders can transform boom shrooms into munch shrooms every 5, 3.75 and then 2.5 seconds. So yeah, make sure you don't let them get there. Gloomies can create up to 3, 4 and then 6 replicas of themselves every 3 seconds. Bandersnatches can use their spike attacks every 6 seconds across all difficulties, and it deals anywhere between 300 to 500 physical damage in a large area. Scourgers amplify nearby enemies' movement speed by 100% and their damage by 200% every 9, 6.75 and then 4.5 seconds. And the duration lasts for 5.5 seconds. So yeah, on impossible mode they can basically perma boost a small horde of enemies. So you gotta kill them quickly, but then after they die they obviously release a Banshee, and the Banshee can disable a tower anywhere between 10 to 15 and then 20 seconds. So yeah, they are pretty cancerous to deal with. Hoplites can summon enemies every 8, 6 and then 4 seconds respectively. Avengers can curse nearby enemies every 5, 3.75 and then 2.5 seconds, and when a cursed enemy dies, they deal 200 true damage in a pretty big area. Redcap's heal chance after insta-killing a unit have been increased to 50, 75 and then 100%. Militia can disable towers every 4, 6 and then 8 seconds, and the duration lasts for 5, 10 and then 60 seconds. Same thing goes for the powers. And that's about it. Now let's move on to the third area. Evokers can silence towers every 6, 4.5 and then 3 seconds for a total of 7 seconds across each difficulty. Their healing ability has been greatly strengthened and has a cooldown of 7, 5.25 and then 3.5 seconds. And it targets enemies below 50% health as opposed to ones with 70% or lower. So yeah, their healing is gonna be way more noticeable now. Twilight Golems no longer slow down after being damaged. Dryder's Poison can be casted every 5, 3.75 and then 2.5 seconds, and it deals up to 400 true damage over 10 seconds. Sons of Mactans can poison units every 10 seconds across all difficulties, but the poison never goes away, meaning that if it hits you with it, the unit that has been struck is about as good as dead. Heretics can disable units every 20, 15 and then 10 seconds for 10 seconds. And disabled units take anywhere between 10 to 15 true damage per second. His consumption ability cooldown is 8, 6 and then 4 seconds. And their ranged attacks deal true damage because why not? Speaking of which, I forgot to mention something, the ranged attack of the Evoker deals magic damage. Moving on, Mactan can no longer be clicked, meaning you cannot prevent her from webbing towers and spawning new enemies. So yeah, that's gonna be annoying. However, I won't spoil the Spider Goddess boss fight, because I feel like she should be experienced blind, because that's cooler. However, let's say you will need to be on your A game during the fight, because she is quite difficult. Let's move on to area number 4. The Bloodnose no longer take bonus damage from magic, but from true damage instead, and they only take 25% bonus damage from true damage sources as opposed to 30%. Blood Ogres can transform more enemies every 8, 6 and then 4 seconds, and they have a little bit of a bigger area in which they can affect it. And to top it all off, they also deal magic damage with their basic attacks. Orc Magi's deal true damage with their ranged attacks, and Brom can globally transform regular Nose into Blood Nose every 7, 5.25 and then 3.5 seconds respectively. As far as the 5th area is considered, most of the enemies have been left the same there, since there's only 3 of them that are introduced, and they were already pretty well made, so I left them alone for the most part. However, that doesn't mean that their base stats have not been changed. And as far as Badge Demon goes, his Rain of Fire ability can be used every 12, 9 and then 6 seconds, and his regeneration ability has been scaled to match his new stats. And last but certainly not the least, the 6th area. Devourers heal for 250 HP now upon killing a unit. Dark Spitters can transform units who die from their Dark Spit into Devourers as opposed to Shadow Spawns. Shadow Champions deal true damage with their basic attacks, and Goliath's Dark Spit lasts for 22 seconds and it has a cooldown of 10, 7.5 and then 5 seconds. So yeah, good luck microing your hero out of there, that's gonna be fun. And that's all I have to say about the enemies. The rest can be found in the encyclopedia as I mentioned earlier. All towers and heroes have been reworked to fit in the mod better, and each one of them has its moments to shine. Not all the towers have been included yet, as of right now. I might add them in the future update, but for now you have the main tier 4 towers from Kingdom Hearts 1, Frontiers and Origins to work with. Except for Barracks. There you have the privilege to use the Renegade Post, Spear Maidens, the Dwarves, and the customly made Sylvan Elf Tower. So you have those at your disposal. The only thing worth mentioning about the heroes is their base damage type, because a few of them got changed. Aravan now deals magic damage, Rexon deals physical damage, Lilith deals true damage, Faustus deals magic damage, and Wilbur deals explosive damage, or artillery damage, if you want to call it that. One major difference from the main game that you're gonna notice right away is the noticeable lack of true damage. One of my biggest issues with Origins was how common true damage was. Almost every hero had at least one ability which dealt true damage, and towers were guilty of the same thing too, like Oak Spears, Eerie Gardener, Blade Dance, Perfect Parry, Clobber, Fiery Nut, Sylvan Curse, artillery base attacks, and Bloodletting. All of those things dealt true damage. Which brings me to the last point of the mod. In this case, the upgrade system. The total amount of stars you need to spend in order to max out each category has been increased from 45 to 75. Most of the upgrades have been buffed, with the exception of a few. Obsidian Heads, Elven Training, Blessing of Eleni, and Crystal Gazing remain the same. One upgrade that got nerfed was the Heavy Load. It basically does nothing, although it does allow the Tesla to deal explosive damage rather than electric, so I guess it isn't completely useless after all. Reinforcements have a 20 seconds cooldown in the beginning, forcing the player to use them more precisely and to not spam them quite as often. To compensate, their base stats have been significantly boosted. The Thunderbolt is a lot stronger, but it has received quite a few nerfs as a result. It starts off with 100 seconds cooldown, or 90 seconds if you get the second upgrade. The global slow starts at 30% and goes all the way up to 50% after getting the tier 4 lightning. So far, that is all I have done. Again, this isn't perfect, nor does it bring anything new to the table. This is not like the new KM5 Chaos Mode edition. Like, this man has done some insane stuff. And my coding knowledge when it comes down to the Lua language is pretty bad. I know mostly the basics. So for now, this is all I have done. Maybe there will be updates in the future, but I'm not sure when they will occur. So yeah, well, with that out of the way, that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content in the future. And while you're at it, drop a like on the video. It means a lot to me. Also, if you want to be more up to date with this mod and Kingdom of Vengeance Reborn, make sure to join my Discord server, link in the description. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Until it comes, that was King Rexy, over and out.